So Git is something that can seem complicated in the beginning. It does get complicated when you dive into the weeds of it, but essentially what you need to know as a developer on a day-to-day basis on your job is pretty simple, and that's exactly what I want to show you in this video. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Aslah and I'm a software engineer based in Prague. So to start working with Git, you don't need to know hell lots. You only need to know a few key things, and that's exactly what I'm planning to do in this video. So let's start with what is Git. Git is essentially a version control system that keeps track of changes in your project. So let's say you created a Word document to write an essay and you saved it as document 1, and then you made a few changes and you save a second document as document 2, and then you decided you want to make a few more changes and you created a document 3 final, and then again you realize you want to make a few more changes to your essay, then you created a fourth document which is final 1, and at the end you decide you want to go back to the change that what you had in document 2. It gets pretty complicated when you think about this in a whole broad perspective of a project. So this is essentially what Git does for you. It keeps tracks of changes that happens in your files of your project, and if you want to go back to a specific commit or a specific change in your project, it helps you do that. So let's see how we can put this into work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a folder Git. Here I'm going to call it Git, and I'm going to add that to my downloads because I don't want anything in my desktop which saves to iCloud. And now I am going to create a file and save it to the folder that we just created so we can start tracking the changes in this file. So I'm going to add line 1 and save it to the folder we just created. Let's make sure, and I'm gonna name it as text.txt and save. So if you come back here, we can see our file is saved. So now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna open the terminal and zoom in a bit so we can see and add some more real estate. So what I'm gonna do right now is go to the directory we just created, the new folder, so we can initialize Git over there. Downloads Git. So we are in the directory right now. So right now I'm going to initialize Git there so we can start tracking the file that we just created. So I'm going to write the command git init so we can see it's initialized. It's giving us few hints saying that using master as the default branch and few other hints as well. And right now I'm going to write the command git status, and you can see here we are on branch master, which is the default branch as written here, and we can also see there's an untracked file which is text.txt, which is the file we just created. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add this file in order for us to commit it. So I can write the command git add space period, or I can specify git text.txt. So the difference between both the commands is that if I put add space period, that means it's gonna add all the files in the folder we just created, but right now we only have one file there, so it doesn't really matter. So we can write git add space period. That means it's gonna start tracking that specific file. Now we're gonna make our first commit, git commit M, which stands for message. We're gonna add a message of what we're gonna commit. So I'm gonna say added line 1, which is what we just did here. We added a line 1, so we make sure your commit messages make sense, and we committed. So just like that, it says one file changed, one insertion. So right now this file is only tracked on your local, but that's not what we need. What we need is we need a place where we can save this file. We need a place where we can have a home to track all your files. So this is where GitHub comes in. So I have my GitHub open here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a repository for us to start saving our files. So press new. I'm going to create a repository. I'm going to call it Git tutorial, and you can add a readme file, and I'm going to say create repository. So just like that, it created a repository for us. And by default, when you create a new repo, it's going to create you a branch called main, and we can see that's the only branch right now. So now we're going to go back. Now before we go back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the HTTPS link to your repository here, and then we're going to come back to our terminal and write the command git remote add origin, and I'm going to paste our new repository link. So what this command basically means is we are just telling Git this is our remote add origin to this link, specific Git repository link. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to push our changes. We're going to say git push. It's probably going to throw us a warning saying that it doesn't know which branch to push to, because like I said, when we created the repository, there's already a branch called main, so we need to specify which specific branch we are actually pushing it to. And if you remember, when we first initialized Git, we already have a default branch master, so it doesn't know which branch we are trying to push. So it's giving us a hint saying that we should set up git push set upstream origin master if you're trying to push to master. So what we're going to do is that we're going to basically just copy that and just push. So right now you can see it's done 100%. It's a successful message, and there's a new branch called master. So now if we come back to our repository here on our GitHub, we can see there's a master has recent pushes less than a minute ago, the push we just did. So right now there's only one branch, but if we just refresh this page, we can see there are two branches, and there's a second branch which is master that we just pushed. If we come here, we can see our file text.txt and our commit message which says added line 1, and if you open it, we can see our line 1. So this is all there is to Git, like essentially what you need to know initially once you're starting to work on a project. And if we take this a bit more further, what we can do is, let's say you want to work on a second feature, you want to modify on what we already have. So what we're going to create is we're going to create a second branch, and we're going to pull all the changes that's already on the main branch, and we're going to work on a second feature and push that changes into that. Yeah, it sounds a bit confusing, but let's see how we can do that. So what we're going to do is that we're going to say git checkout B. We're going to create a second branch, and B stands for branch, and we're going to create this second feature branch. So we'll say feature slash, let's say, why are we creating this feature branch? I wanna write a line 2. So let's say I'm adding line 2. So that's my branch called feature / adding line 2. And we are trying to create this branch from one of our head branch, which is let's say master. And we press enter, and we see switch to a new branch, feature adding line 2. So now we are on our feature branch. So now if we just type git status, we can see we are on branch feature / adding line 2. Nothing to comment, working through clean. So what we're going to do is that now we're going to go back to our text file and add a line 2, and we're going to press save. And before that, we're going to pull all the changes from master that's already on master. So pull or fetch, we're gonna fetch all the changes and new branch, and we're gonna say git pull. So we basically pulled all the changes that's on the master branch. Now if we press git status, we can see modified text too. Why this message is coming here is because we just literally added a line 2 on the file that was already there, and so it's showing as modified text.txt file, the file we just modified. So now let's push these changes and see what happens. So we're gonna add this file again. Instead of doing git add space period, this time I'm gonna add the text.txt, the file name itself, just to show you guys we can do that as well. And we can commit the new changes and say added line 2 space. So now we can see 1 file change, 2 insertion, 1 deletion, which is good. So now we're gonna say git push And again, it doesn't know which branch to push to, so it's giving us a warning telling us to specify which branch to push to. So we're gonna basically copy this and push our new changes, and just like that, it's pushed. It's successfully pushed, counting 100% done. So now if we go back to our GitHub and refresh, basically we can see, let's go to the main, we can see there are 3 branches right now. So there is main, master, and feature adding line 2. So here also it says to had recent pushes less than a minute ago, and it's asking us to compare and do a pull request. So if you press that, it's gonna say we created a line 2 over here, and it's saying that the line 1 was deleted, which was not actually deleted, just because we pressed enter, it's showing as a deletion. But we can now try to merge this to our first branch. So let's say no, compare to master, and see it's able to merge because there's no conflicts at the moment. What we basically did was create a line 2 which has no conflicts between the first change and the second change. So we can successfully create a pull request, check, and it's going to check the ability to merge. There's no conflicts with base branch, and merge pull request, confirm merge. And once we merged a new branch, we have the option to either delete the branch we created or keep it. So this is all there is to know in Git, essentially, to do your job as a developer on a day-to-day basis. I know that it can get way more complicated than this, but this is what you need to know as a beginner when you start to work. And as further you go into this, once you start working on a full-fledged application, or once you start to work on a project, you will run into error no matter how many courses or no matter how many tutorials you take. For sure, at some point you're going to be running into some sort of error. Then you will have to look into knowing how to git rebase, how to git stash your changes. But these are all like a second level or secondary level to knowing Git, but this will come with experience rather than trying to understand everything in the first place and going and starting to work on it. But this is just few things, few things what you need to understand. I hope this video made sense. I really don't want this video to be too long, and if you guys have any questions, do let me know in the comments below. And until then, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Cheers.